Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So this morning we're continuing a project that we started yesterday. This is a property that a gentleman bought for a place to hunt, and it is severely overgrown with small trees and brush. So we started this yesterday afternoon. We've got the 220 Hyundai out here with the bucket and thumb. Got the 200 Hitachi out here with the 72-inch diamond brush mower, and the T870 Bobcat with the grapples, and also the 2940 with the 15-foot Woods Batwing mower behind it. And we're just moving through here, plucking out the big trees with the 220, and we're piling them in designated spots along the wood line of the big trees, because there's woods on each side of this. And then George is mowing what he can with the brush mower on the 200. There's a section that he's mowing along the ditch that needed to be mowed off so that they can hunt from the other side of the ditch out of their hunting blind, so they can shoot in this direction. And then they can also shoot each direction down the right-of-way along the ditch. And once we get all this plucked out with the 220, ooh, that's a tough one. Once we get this all plucked out, I go through with the Batwing behind the 2940 and I mow off anything that's left, like briars and small saplings and things like that. So it's working out pretty good. It's looking pretty nice. We do a lot of this. This isn't the first one of these projects by no means, so we've got it figured out down to a science what we need to do to make it nice again. So once we go through and we get all this out, he routinely mows it with his utility tractor and bush hog. These trees won't come back, but it's going to have to be kept mowed until the grass takes over enough that it keeps the woody stemmed vegetation from growing back. Once you get the grass established where these trees were, that usually after routinely mowing it, they won't come back. Might take a few years of constantly cutting the saplings off, but once you get them to give up, it'll be fine. And he just hunts over this, so it's not going to hurt if there are little sapling stumps left. It's not like it's getting farmed. So just a good bush hogging now and then will keep things cleaned up and keep things nice. So there's approximately 20 acres, I believe, here that we're cleaning up. And as I go, I got to make sure I keep the stump holes filled up so they're not bouncing through them on the tractor. And then Scooter will come along with the Bobcat and he'll work them back in some also. Not a extremely exciting project, but it's something that's worth making a video on. If you've got hunting ground that you want to clean up, this is a good option to do it. Another option would be a forestry mulcher, but this works well also. Someday I'd like to get me a forestry mulcher, like a big wheel loader type with the big mulching head on it. There's a catalpa tree. That came out real nice and clean. Forestry mulchers are great for projects like this, but general land clearing, they're not good for it because you're leaving all that root mass in the ground. So if you plan on building a house or farming it, you want to do a traditional way of clearing, and that's like this, where you rip it out, dig it out, get it up on top. But this would be a good candidate for a forestry mulcher. I know we've talked about that in previous videos. My new pin should be here today for my work brow thumb, that one that broke. I put another one in there for the time being, but it wasn't quite long enough. So every now and then I gotta get out and go tap it in. Stump that Dad came through here with the bat wing and mowed some stuff off just to get us in here, to get us a path worked in. There's a stump that got nipped off. So there's two fields here. There's this back field and then there's a front field. There's a small, not really a ditch, it's more of a waterway that we're working up to right now. We're going to leave all the big trees along it. That's going to be the dividing line between this back field and the front field. So I just got to get all these little shrubs out, bushes or whatever you want to call them. I don't know what to call them. I could let George just grind them up. I'll just go ahead and pluck them. Let's pile them. The gentleman was not against just piling them because he said that that'll make a good habitat for the foxes and squirrels, not squirrels, rabbits and stuff to go into. I gotta knock that pin back in. I don't want that to fall out. Well, I couldn't get the pin back in because I can't hold the linkage up myself on one side. So until I can get George or Scooter to come help me, we'll just not use the thumb for right now. Do it old school, out of thumb. The new pin's supposed to be here today, so get it put in. Ran a hoe for quite a long time without a thumb on it, so not like it's something you necessarily have to have. Worked out perfect. Shortly after that pin worked its way out, Dave from Harding's Heavy Equipment called me and said he had my new pin. So I run back to the shop and got it put back in. We're ready to go again. So that pin actually busted right here in the center. And we're not exactly sure why it broke in the center. Kind of just doesn't make any sense really. But new pin looks like it's a little different than the old one. So we'll see how this one lasts. So let's get back at it. Oh, Scooter's doing some mowing. out here. It sure is nice having the retainers in there to keep that pin in. Don't have to worry about it sliding out on me. We're making our way through this grove of bush honeysuckle, I believe it is. That's what it looks like to me. And there's some other stuff in there. But I don't ever remember having this stuff around that much when I was a kid. It just seems like it's come around in the last 10, 15 years. It is an invasive species. I don't believe it's native to Indiana. My buddy Richard eradicates a lot of it. He does timber stand improvements. And he goes into woodses, and a timber stand improvement is basically you go around all the big trees that are going to be a good tree that'll produce a good log or just be a nice tree, and you cut out all this underbrush out from under it so there's no competition for nutrients. And then he keeps areas treated so that it doesn't come back. So he does timber stand improvements, I do timber stand eliminations. But he is a forester, arborist, whatever you want to call him. I'm in the land clearing business. But you use a lot of the same tools. You know, you use forestry mulchers and things like that, brush mowers for timber stand improvements. And then a lot of it's just handwork. You know, he's had situations where he's had to go in and, you know, with lopping shears and just cut things off by hand. Or a weed eater with a blade on it, you know, mow the stuff off. Not all of it can be done mechanically. Just depends on the density of the woods and what machines you can get in there. And some of it he does in wetlands, and there is no getting a machine in there to do it. So if you're asking, you know, my thoughts still on a work brow thumb with that pin breaking, I would still buy another one of these work brow thumbs in a heartbeat. This thumb has been great. I really like it. Works very well. There's no doubt that it's a quality product. It's just they could have had a bad batch of pins. And you know, I can say whatever I want about this attachment because we gave full asking price for it. You know, it's not like it's a paid promotion or anything like that. So hey, I can give you an honest review and not upset anybody because it's our attachment. We paid for it. But if you ask me, Work Brow makes a very quality product. And I can sit here and say that because we spent the money, we bought it. Not sitting here under a contract, you know, with them. And they were very timely about getting a pin for us, and it was covered under warranty. That pin's $195, and it was covered. Just gonna finish shaving this off right here, and then I'm gonna move on to another spot. I believe we are going to leave some along the ditch just for refuge for the animals. Not going to take it all out. But the gentleman wanted to get the ground opened up again so that he could plant some food plots and be able to see. And, you know, the interesting thing is you would think that, you know, we're disturbing the habitat for the deer and things like that, but actually the deer like it, especially when it says dense. They like it if you clear it because then they can walk around easier. We just got done with a ditch project that we cleared through a woods to clear the right-of-way off, and you look behind you and there's bunches of deer running around, walking around in the clearing right after we went through. Feller buncher, brush mower, nothing bothered them. They were just curious, and they liked it that they could move around easier without, you know, walking through the brush. Because sometimes they're like humans. They don't like to walk through the woods all the time. Stuff's smacking them in the face, scratching them, poking them. So it gives them a place to go where they can, wander around easier and get to the ditch easier to get a drink. So they definitely, they respond to it. And I think a lot of it's curiosity. They just got to go see what's going on. Like when we built my building pad for my shop, you come the next day and it's just covered in deer tracks. I had to go check it out. That was something I was kind of worried about, where I'm building my new place, because the neighbors up by the road, they always like to watch the deer, walk across the field back there and stuff. And I talked to my neighbor Pete the other day, and he said even with your new shop going up and stuff, he said the deer are still coming up in his backyard. So it worked out great. I gotta move this out of the way. I didn't realize it was that close to me. Oop. Scooter's not keeping up with me and keeping the brush away. We have a hawk at the new place that every time we go there, it flies around and makes its noise that it makes, and it's absolutely annoying. And kind of hoping that it'll go away once we get moved there. I'm really worried about it with my wiener dog. Hopefully it don't try to swoop down and take off with my wiener dog or Hank the Maltipoo. I think Asher, my wiener dog's probably a little too heavy for it. But it might be able to get away with Hank. Hank's not extremely heavy. But them hawks, they can be mean. They can take off with cats, take off with dogs. I've heard of bald eagles taking off with dogs before. And cats. But that hawk, it just starts squawking and everything else when they're around. It's just got a real loud, high-pitched sound to it. Alright, I'm going to continue on along this edge here, get this all done, cleaned up, and we'll move on to the next section. trying the second pass of soybeans this morning, but with that storm coming through, I didn't even leave the farm with the sprayer. So figure we get over here and get this project finished up so we can get the 2940 and the Batwing back home and the Bobcat back home. It's looking real good out here. So we're not gonna 100% mow all this because this is prairie grass. So what I was doing was I was just going through with the mower and finding a woody vegetation or any thistle or anything like that and mowing it off. So the rest of all this is gonna stay because they want the prairie grass so they can hunt in it. So we're just gonna go through and we're gonna finish mowing off with the mower on the excavator so we can just sit right down on top of the tree and not mow the prairie grass. So that's what George is going to finish up doing. Dad and I are plucking the rest of the big trees out, and I'm carrying them over and putting them over to the side with the Bobcat. Well, it's starting to rain now. I didn't realize we were going to get a storm this morning. Dad's going to finish these last few trees off here in the corner. All them years that Bob Barker said at the end of The Price is Right to spade and neuter your pets, please. He should have been saying mow and debrush your CRP, please. That's what this ground is. It's CRP ground, but they hunt it. So it's in the set-aside program. There's a little bit of lightning going on. I sure do miss The Price is Right. Used to watch that a lot when I was homesick from school. There was a few times that I was just home from school. I wasn't actually sick, but Mom doesn't need to know that. I had it figured out a few times. Well, I think that's the last of the trees to pluck. I'm gonna go ahead and get them cleaned up. It looks real nice out here now. You couldn't see all the way to the back before. Well, it all turned out really nice. We're out of here. We're gonna move on. We gotta get the 200 to my grandma's. We gotta mow around her pond. And then the 220's gotta go back to the ditch job we were on. So we're gonna load the Bobcat up and get out of here until it quits raining. I'll come back for them too, come back for the 2940 and the mower. But this project turned out real nice. They're gonna be happy with it. Gonna be able to see the deer moving around out here when they're hunting. So, all right, let's get out of here. So thank you for watching, greatly appreciate it. See you all in the next one.